Welcome in, everybody. This is the Final Form podcast. I am your co-host, Dave, joined by my fellow weeb, Kyle. And today we are continuing our coverage of one of our favorite manhwas, now turned anime, Solo Leveling, episode 14. I suppose you aren't aware. This, to me, was a perfect episode. Not only do we get tons of Sung Jin-woo just flexing his strength all over the place, but we also plant some key seeds of plot points that will eventually sprout into some storylines later in the season. We also got a couple really hilarious comedic moments. So for me personally, again, this was just everything that I look for in a solo leveling episode or chapter. Perfect blend of all of it. Kyle, what did you think of the episode?
Yeah, I agree. It's really, I know last time we mentioned a little bit how it was last episode was a nice kind of reintroduction to the story, his powers specifically. And this was like the perfect fight that showcases what he's capable of. The kind of the way he can combine with the shadows, with the lower rank shadows can kind of handle the fodder of any enemies, and then he and his kind of top ranking lieutenants can then handle the higher ranked members of the opposition. So it all kind of just went really, really well together. I thought the animation again, it checks out for me. I was looking at so Reddit, Solo Leveling Reddit has like a discussion thread for every single episode. And I think this is probably a better look at it than like, I don't even know what we would do IMDb. I don't think IMDb even does that. But out of 3.1 thousand total votes on ranking what the episode was, 2.3 thousand people said it was S rank. Yeah. And then almost 700 people said it was A rank. So pretty much everyone is saying it's either A rank or S rank. So the season is starting off very hot.
I'm glad I've voiced my opinion about it being just the perfect embodiment of solo leveling, because this shit was just so hype. We got everything you could ask for in this episode, but enough beating around the bush. Let's just get right into it. We're just going to open up with the discussion of what's happening outside the portal and establish the time. So we see that 3 hours have passed outside of the gate, which is correlated into 3 days inside of the gate. So Sung and their team members have already been in there for 3 days. And we get more of the action between Hwang, Dong-suk, and Beck. I'm still not even going to pronounce the full name of him, but just such a cool moment. We have two S-rank hunters clashing kind of here for the first time that we've seen on camera. And boy, was the aura just plus 10,000 aura, just all show. It was so amazing between these two to see them kind of have this little interaction, we'll say, that heated up very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it puts a lot of respect on, again, I'm so bad at his name, the guy from the Hunter Association, the blonde-haired guy. But yes. And in addition, I'd be curious to know, people that haven't read, like if it was disappointing, just the Hwang Dong-suk, let's call it like the conclusion to that, where he essentially just gets in the car and leaves. Mm-hmm. It felt like he was the reveal, the cliffhanger at the end of season 1. He gets introduced last episode. It's like, okay, this guy, like, he's crazy, he's S rank, and then he is kind of just has an argument almost and then dips. So I'd be curious to hear if people who aren't familiar with the story at all, this was their first experience, being like, oh wow, okay, like that's it. Mm-hmm. That me personally, I know what happened, so it's all good with me. And like you're saying, the clash and all of that was sick, and that was a nice, let's say, treat, I guess, for people that may have been disappointed in the overall conclusion of things. But that's like the only potential downside I could probably see in the whole episode, was people being maybe a little disappointed in that. Just, all right, back to the airport.
Yeah, do we even know the rank? Have they announced on the anime? I'm sorry to put you on the spot like this, but the rank of the guy that blocked both the punches, your boy, have they visibly?
I don't know if they've announced it, but I'm like arrogantly confident that he is an A rank.
Yeah, and you can kind of see it too, which is really cool in the punches that are thrown by Hwang and Beck, because one, he catches them, which impressive as hell. Obviously, you're catching 2 S rank punches. You yourself have got to be strong, but what really makes it noticeable is that the sweat drips down his face, and he does also make the comment, you guys held back at the very last second, which made it easier for me to catch the punches. So the show does provide us that insight of, okay, there is a little bit of a tier gap here, but this guy who caught the punches is definitely capable of at least sticking up for himself, clearly, if he's entering that scrum.
Yeah, and looking at the wiki very quickly, he is an A rank, and I am devastated at myself, probably the collection of the two of us, for not remembering that his name is Woo Jin-chul.
It's Sung
This is Meet the
Jin-woo, but
Woo.
like, come on, yeah. It's Meet
Meet
the
the Woo.
Woo. How can we forget Meet the Woo? Oh, I'm
Woo.
actually so pissed about that.
Baby,
Okay.
welcome to the party.
All right.
Yeah.
So for anyone listening, going forward, Woo is our boy. Meet the Woo.
Yeah.
We got that
Woo
now.
Jin-chul. That's a great name too.
Yeah, I do like that name a lot. We are not going to forget that. But
No.
let us get into the meat of all this. We open up with Sung Jin-woo beating all of the ice bears, the main ice bear boss, and he then, of course, reincarnates them. And I feel like this just already opens us up with Sung Jin-woo is just so fucking strong, because the fact that he already had an army of just knights was impressive. But now he's reincarnating these, like, I think they were like B tier minions, A tier minions, these ice bears that even Kim Chul was afraid of himself, to go against these ice bears. And here we have Sung Jin-woo resurrecting every one of them, and just his powers. Here's a flex, just another flex for you that we get in a couple seconds.
Yeah, and you know what? I spoke too soon, probably like 5 minutes ago, where I could see, I think I myself, when the episode opened, and this is the opening, like cold open of it, it felt a little anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Of like the arise, the resurrection of things, but it doesn't matter because we get the iron one later, which was sick, and that one was well done, and I'm totally in favor of them focusing more on that one with the detail, the sound design, all of that stuff. But yeah, I mean, people better get used to it. This is like his thing. You know what I mean? And we'll probably talk about it more at the end too, of like his disappointment with his failure of doing it later. And it's such a fun mechanic, like reading or just experiencing the story for the first time and being like, okay, like we meet badass villain, we fight badass villain, we win. Do we recruit badass villain?
Yeah.
Like, that's just like the greatest cycle. It's such a fun.
What other goodies do they
through.
have with them? What can we pick up here? Just being able to live the ride with him and just know what is worth fighting at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's great.
And so we then come back to Kim Chul and his devastation after his hunter party got completely wiped out after pressing forward. He comes back to the campsite, to Sung Jin-woo's campsite, to see everyone pleasantly hanging out by a warm fire, eating food, and that just drives him to insanity. He immediately is calling out Sung Jin-woo, but Sung Jin-woo just basically teleports up, puts Kim down, and that is the last that we see of Kim for a little bit. But Kim was an A rank hero, and Sung just put him in the ground.
Yeah,
just to put that into the world of everyone's head, that Sung is clearly at the top of A tier, if not already into S.
He's just barking at the wrong tree. Obviously, he's in a frayed mental state, but I won't say he got what he deserved, let's say. But I mean, you could say he got what was coming to him due to the way he was acting.
Yes. I mean, he left 5 people to die anyway. So either way, the ice elves show up after having followed Kim, essentially, who we find out immediately are speaking a different language. We don't know that right off the bat, I guess I should have said, because Sung, everything is in Japanese, but then it starts getting a little dilated, a little mutilated, and the language is completely foreign to the people behind him, who obviously would understand it if they were speaking Japanese, but the show did a decent enough job to show us that they're clearly not speaking Japanese. So the one comment to take away also from this is Sung not only is able to speak and hear the language, the ice elves themselves see Sung Jin-woo not as a human, but as a monster, or at least whatever they are. This is kind of some of those seeds that I was talking about at the intro, that we don't know entirely what they mean, but now we are supposed to think that Sung Jin-woo isn't a human. Whether that has always been the case, whether that was the case after his reawakening, we're not entirely too sure, but the monsters themselves identify Sung as one of them and not as a human. And the main reason that is because the king ice elf Baruka tells us that all monsters hear a voice telling them to kill all humans, and it's not triggering on Jin-woo. A lot to take in right there, but again, I also want to reiterate this, that Kyle and I have read the manga. We're here to not really talk spoilers. We kind of want to just enjoy the ride with everyone. So we were going to veer away from any spoilers, and any spoiler talk that we do might happen at the end if we feel it's necessary. But a lot of information here.
Yeah, it's nice breadcrumbs for things. They really, I wouldn't say reiterate, because I don't entirely remember how much it's talked about in season 1, but the idea of the system, he is in this moment kind of evaluating, contemplating what is, I don't even want to say what's real, but like, what is the system? We even have the part where the head ice elf is kind of like almost like rewinds like a tape and says his line again. And
Yes.
he's like, again, thinking like, what is this? So he is seeing all of these signs of, okay, like that's something to figure out for the future. Like I'm not totally equipped at the moment to figure that out, but obviously those will be threads that we'll explore. I mean, the series, the pitch of this all is always going to be the fights. We love the fights, but it gets really fun later on as a lot of these questions start to get explored more and answered, and we start to kind of climb the ranks of knowledge and trying to figure out what exactly is happening in the background.
Yeah, and it's really feeling more like a video game to Sung specifically. Again, we don't know as the viewer whether that glitch was, I guess, intentional for the monsters or if it could happen to anyone. Like, is Sung Jin-woo like living in a video game kind of thing? But there are going to be plenty of answers up ahead. But right now, that was a weird moment when the question that specifically triggered the glitch in the Ice King Baruka was, "Who are you?" I believe it was just a simple "Who are you?" question, and the Ice Baruka was about to say, "We are Penn State." No, but he came back and kind of just reiterated the same thing, like bring those humans to us. So some questions there, and we kind of known that Sung had been down like this weird path, and we bring it up again later in the episode, but the whole idea of him losing his personality at the end here, he gets, he says that's the third one, but we'll get into all that in a little bit here. So after, well, I guess even before the Ice King glitches, we get a flex here where Baruka introduces his ice elf army and says, "Oh, I have a guy here that is very interested in fighting you. He has some quelled beef with you." And Sung doesn't have the time or day to give this guy any breath whatsoever.
He just swift payback.
Just immediately pops this dude's head off with just a blink of an eye, which is just so cool. I remember this being one of the moments in the manhwa for me where I remember feeling that, oh fuck yeah, like we are that guy now. Like
the speed.
Yeah, the speed is what we love.
Something always, man. There's always something so crispy about speed like that.
Mm-hmm. But to get us started into the actual brawl, the ice elf Baruka looks around and he's like, we got numbers on your side. You sure you want to do this? And Sung's like, am I sure? Am I fucking sure? You sure you got the numbers on your side? And this is where we get a very dope Arise moment. We have the weaker hunters behind Sung Jin-woo. He is protecting them, but the army of Black Knights and Black Ice Bears arises from the ground, and they are completely scared shitless. They have no idea what's going on, which can't really blame them. They've never seen anything like this. And this is where we get some major great action. I think there's two scenes in particular that I just had to gush over. The one being when the weak hunters are fleeing and we see 3 random ice elves about to shoot their arrows.
Oh my God.
The arrow knocks back. I'm literally laughing because it's just so cool. It's so fun. The arrow is maybe released from the bow for a split second. Everything is slowed down for us as the viewer. Sung just comes in, catches it, and just slices all 3 of them in the blink of a fucking eye. And that's what I texted Kyle. I was like, dude, I'm cracking up because this is the shit we love to see, man. It was so cool.
He's so cool. He's so strong. It's just, it's just like a power fantasy.
Oh, absolutely.
which is
And you said
great.
it too. We're going to keep reiterating these moments of the animation are. I'm so glad that this has worked out the way it has in terms of there haven't been, at least to my knowledge, of any background issues of, that might cause delays or transferring of studios like certain animes have in the past midway through the season. And I just hope that everything works out perfectly because I think the animation is living up to what the manhwa has presented in terms of like the drawings themselves. It really felt
Yeah,
like you were watching an anime while
color.
reading it. Yeah, the colors, they just all pop and they're doing just such an amazing job here.
Yeah, and this fight too, that kind of, I assume the second part of what you were saying when you were thinking about two things is actually Sung and Baruka, whatever his name ends up being. I'm sorry, actually getting into it,
Yeah.
and man, again, you feel the speed, like the two really fast characters fighting with daggers
Yes.
is super cool, and you felt it in the animation,
Hmm.
like the speed, like the quickness of the clashes together, like it was really fucking fun. I mean, Igris looks amazing. I love the blue and black
Oh,
of the shadows. Like it just looks so cool.
it is
I just love it.
amazing. I
Yeah. And then when Igris has, yeah, the red like feather, whatever you want to call that, like, on his head is with the contrast of it all. It's just like it looks like poetry in motion. It's just so good.
we have to give Barca his flowers because I do truly believe, obviously, if Sung didn't. All right, let's just get into this part then. So during the fight with Barca, Sung makes a sly little comment like, my army like isn't strong enough, which is crazy because seemed plenty strong to me with the ice
Yeah.
bears and the knights. But he does make a little comment. He's like, I wish I had a little bit more oomph to my army, essentially. Enter Kim again because he is now waking from his little slumber to which Sung Jin-woo put him in, and he immediately is pissed. He knows that Sung Jin-woo was the one to knock him out. And during this battle with Barca, Kim tries to charge at Sung to I don't know, kill him or land a blow. I don't know what he was thinking, but this is where Sung Jin-woo shows a little bit of his detachment from humanity because while yes, Kim may have been asking for it. I don't know if he rightfully deserved it. And this might have been a little bit different than in the manhwa. I'm not 100% sure. It felt a little bit different. Um, but both Barca and Kim charge at Sung. Sung creates a snow wall to prevent either from seeing really well. In that brief moment, Sung is able to kill Kim. I guess Igris technically is able to kill Kim. And in that moment, when he's dead, Sung uses the word arise. No extra attempts needed. Kim is resurrected as Iron. And this is where I like Kim. I like Kim as Iron because
Yeah.
he's strong, one, and two, he is just hilarious. But we
Yeah.
get Iron, baby. This guy immediately you can tell is a threat. He looks different than all the other knights. Basically, when someone gets resurrected and they don't look like everyone else, you know they're going to play an important role in this army. And Iron does his job. He is obviously a tank for Sung, and Sung is using Iron and Igris to kind of weave his way into some attacks using some really cool combinations of the two of them, resummoning and summoning them at will. Just
Yeah.
so cool. And
It was
this
a
is where I'll
great
give Barca his flowers.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he's fighting against all of them. He wants to fight against all of them as well. And this is again where when I said in the beginning, like the perfect display of Sung's power and the potential for all of it. This three-man combo is just so good. It's especially we get the reminder too of the ruler's touch, when he throws the dagger and then he brings it back. Like it's like almost all of his power is on display in this, whatever it ends up being 10-minute fight. It's just so good. And yeah, the arise moment for Iron is different in the manhwa, but I think I want to say it's less hidden and like covert in the
Mhm.
manhwa. Well, here I thought it worked. It looked cool. I love how they gave us like the flashback to like the 3-second flashback where it's like what was actually happening at
Yeah.
the time. I thought all of that worked really well. It was cool that they did it under the cover of like the snow, like windstorm happening. It all happened so quick, and it's just it looks so sick. I
I
mean,
feel like
obviously, yeah, at some level he's killing someone, but
I feel like in the manhwa though, I feel like I should have looked this up beforehand, but I feel like I remember the ice elf being the one that actually dealt the blow to Kim as Kim's like kind of interfering in their battle, and Sung's just like Sung had the option to save him, I guess. Like there was a moment where Sung's like, but he's like, this could work out. He chooses in the
this
manga, I
is
think, either way to let Kim die, but I don't feel
this
like he was
is
the one responsible.
looking it up, and it looks like Egress kills him
Okay, so he
in the
does.
manhwa.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then in the manhwa, it's Egress kind of fights Baruka, not Barca. Barca is what Spartacus. That's funny. But alone, and then Jin-woo was like doing the whole Kim Chul shadow stuff on the
Gotcha.
side
Okay.
instead of it
Gotcha.
all kind of happening in one
That's what
combination of
okay,
things.
that's what it was. Yes. Yes. It
Yeah,
was like it was two separate fights essentially that was going on.
yeah, yeah. It was nice and efficient this time.
Yeah, and we get a display of also Kim's ability as Iron, where he uses a taunt move to essentially draw in. I'm not even going to say his name, Ice King, and it's just another ability that Sung himself cannot use, but he just has a free body that again is a tank that can just take away notice from him and allow him to use the invisibility, the stealth
Yeah,
power that he acquired from way back in season 1 from the other assassin. Just like you said, just a great display of seeing everything from the Arise. We get also shots of the mages too. It's not just like, oh, we have the knights and the ice bears fighting. It's like, oh, we also have the magic. Don't forget about that. And I think Sung was trying to use the mages a little bit more because they didn't say this specifically, but them being ice, you would want to use fire. So it seemed like he was trying to incorporate a lot of fire attacks in the battle too, which I think just shows that Sung is kind of adapting very easily.
yeah. That's so funny because I did not put 2 and 2 together there, but that obviously makes a whole lot of sense, and he's smarter than I am.
But at the very end, to get the dealing blow, Iron comes out of nowhere, gets resummoned, and just squashes the Ice King elf into the ground. And this is where we get one of our comedic moments in the sense that Iron continues to bash in the Ice King's dead body, but Sung just is like looking at him like, bro, if this is going to be a problem, like you need some restraint. This cannot be a problem, and just kind of is sighs and looks away. And Iron's sitting there like, what the fuck? And he looks at Egress, who also turns his back on him. And then he's left alone. He's looking around, and he sees 2 random mages, and he's like, starts cheering. They all just start cheering with him. Like I love Iron Man. Like these are going to be a lot of comedic notes going forward. Just the army and their lack of communication, but just still being able to communicate. It's just so funny.
It's such a good, like, they have personality.
Yeah.
Which is great. And obviously Iron's personality is way better than Kim Chul's was. So, yes. It really works out for us as viewers. And the potential there is just so high, as we get to know them more, we get to know their personalities more. It's just like, it's so fun. They become friends. Like, it's just without even having to talk. I mean, it's just good stuff.
Yeah, the fight was amazing. I honestly feel like I'm gonna definitely rewatch this one with Aoki at least because I need to experience these moments again. They're just so awesome. But that's gonna be it at least for what happens in the Red Gate. We obviously when the Ice King elf pulls out his dagger, I'm sure all of us as the viewer are like, oh, that would be a nice little addition for Sung's dagger collection of his own. And so that comes to fruition. Sung does acquire the dagger, and like we kind of been alluding to earlier, he tries to resurrect the Ice King elf, but is unfortunately unable to. It seems like his power is too strong, which if Sung was able to resurrect Egress on at least 3 attempts, it kind of just shows you how strong this enemy was. I know Sung had admitted last episode that Egress might still be even stronger than him, and I truly believe if Sung didn't have Egress, honestly, even just Egress, like if it was just him and Iron, I really don't know if he's coming out of that fight. But because he has that trio, someone who was also as strong as him, that does give him the upper hand in these one-on-one situations.
Yeah, I feel like that was, I don't want to say explicit, but I definitely agree with that.
Mm-hmm. So we at least know that the Ice King Elf is at least proven to be Sung Jin-woo's strongest opponent yet, and Sung still makes kind of slight work of this guy. He doesn't really break a sweat the entire fight, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But we leave the gate now that Sung has beaten the boss. The gate is closing, and all of the members, the remaining alive all the remaining alive members leave the gate, and Beck is still there to greet all of them. We had already said that Huang left out of kind of frustration, and I guess didn't really want to press Beck any further. But Beck is surprised to see that Kim did not make it out. He really thought Kim had carried everyone out of there and was the reason that they lived. But we do find that he does know that it is Sung Jin-woo. And Beck tries to get Sung to admit what went wrong in the red gate. And it's not, it is a threat, but Sung is just so confident in his abilities now and so confident in himself that he doesn't even notice it as a threat. And Beck really needs to grab him on the shoulder and be like, yo, what the fuck happened there? And Sung is still kind of giving him the business, like, yo, I'm tired. Yeah, I just want to go to bed. It's unbelievable. And I love when they both have like their glowing eyes. Beck has his tiger hand at the ready and his eyes are going white. Sung's are blue. Just those aura moments, man, are just so cool. And even Beck admits to himself, he's like, yo, I just tried to put a threat on this dude and he didn't even budge. And
I like Beck a lot.
More flex. Oh yeah, I think so too.
He's a good character. He just seems like he's just like a good guy. That's what he.
And he's a good guy too, because at the end Sung was kind of being a dick to him. I can't lie, but he was also being a dick to Sung. But either way, he still looks at his assistant and he's like, "You need to bring this guy into our guild no matter what, because real recognize real." And Beck, while the first interaction may not have been great, he knows that Sung has got the stuff to make it in the White Tiger Guild. So they are going to continue their efforts on recruiting him to the White Tiger Guild, now with the backing of the guild master as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that guy must feel so vindicated.
Oh, and Huang
Huang
even tells the guy with glasses, the assistant or whatever, that you've always had a good knack for sniffing out good talent. So what's his deal? But he kind of keeps quiet a little bit. And
I'd walk away from that. I mean, granted, I'm sure his neck's a little sore, but I'd walk away from that feeling pretty good about myself.
Oh yeah, that I can talk, I can move.
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy here.
It worked out for him for sure.
Oh, and I'm so mad I didn't write our boy's name down. We get to see armor guy. What's
Jin-ah? Or is Jin-ah his sister?
Jin-ah's the sister. That's why I had that originally. Is it Jin? I feel like there's a Jin or something in there.
The reason why it gets confusing is that we have, so Jin-woo is the main character, Jin-ah is his sister, and then Jin-ho, who is not related to him.
And then
is his kind of right-hand man, his boy that has gone.
Didn't we say Woo was Woo Jin Chul? Like, what are we doing
it's
here?
Woo Jin Chul.
Yeah, what are we doing here? But either way,
it's a little tough. It's Yu Jin-ho, and then Sung Jin-woo, and then Sung Jin-ah, and then Woo Jin Chul. So that's it's just not us. Yeah, it's just not, let's say, I don't want to use the word normal, but it's not easy, I would say, for us Americans who speak it,
when I know 4 different characters have at least Jin in their name somewhere, it's just or Woo. Yeah, there's some combination of that, or Park. Yeah. Park's probably going to be another big one if I had to guess. But we finally get our boy Jin-ho back. It was great to see him. We haven't seen him since season 1. And of course,
to the nines, like a legend.
Yeah, our boy's just dressed up a little bit. He's got the gear on, but he knows that Sung Jin-woo doesn't like when he wears the full gear, so he wants to wear a little bit. And
I'd want to flex too. I want to wear it.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, it's so awesome, and this is where we get the second comedic part of the show, because Sung is dropping off the E rank girl. again, the names are just they're gone. They're just forever gone. But the girl that he brought with him into the Red Gate anyway, he's dropping her off, but they're making some very vague and what appear to be very sexual back and forth, like, oh, how'd you sleep? Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't sleep that great. You know, I was up all night thinking about it, thinking about you, whatever. And our boy Jinho's in the front seat, like, yo, Sung, you know she's underage, right? And he's like, and
Yeah, and he obviously takes that the worst way possible.
because Sung obviously is not, there's no love interest here, at least in Sung's eye. Like he's just like helping out the school or whatever. But
Yeah, no, she has
Jin-ho
a
is
crush on
seeing
him for
this.
sure.
Yeah, she definitely has a crush on him. But Jin-ho is seeing this for the first time. Him and this girl interacting, hearing these thoughts.
Well, it's also that's a funny character trait of Sung Jin-woo is that he's so oblivious to all
Yes.
of that stuff. And we know, I mean, his background being just kind of a runt guy that's in the corner, the shadows. He does have that what B rank healer girl that they had
Yes,
like
from the
a, you know,
OG.
it was platonic, but they, you know, there was probably a little bit of feelings involved,
There
but
was a
never
there
everything.
was a date pitched at when they were about to lose their lives. You know.
Yeah, but that's like literally the extent that
Hmm.
we know of him having any level of experience with relationships. So he's nothing like that is even registering in his mind. Like his whole deal is I got to get strong.
It
So
takes me back to episode 2 or 3 or whatever when he wakes up in the hospital and he's getting yoked and
yeah.
the nurse comes in and is like, oh, like, can I have your number? And he's like, oh, I wonder if this is just for like future checkups or whatever. And it's
Yeah,
like,
that's actually a good call. That's a great
yeah,
call.
it's like this guy has no idea when he's being hit on or when girls like him at all.
Nah, he ain't used to being the hunk that he is now.
Ah, that's really it. I
Oh,
don't think I
you know
have
what?
anything else. Yeah, go ahead.
One thing I thought it was really interesting. They did it, I think it was last season. It's definitely after he kills Huang Dong Su
The brother
is
or whatever.
yeah, is the older brother that he kills in season 1, and he kind of and all the people. And during that fight too, he's thinking like, "Oh my gosh, like I killed someone afterwards." You know, I think that's when he starts to drink the beer too, and then realizes he can't get drunk, and it's
Mhm.
like him dealing with the emotional. And then they have the scene again in this where it's like, okay, like that's number 3. He seems to feel less maybe conflicted about it, so that's like another fun thing. Well, fun in quotations potentially, but interesting thing to track too is that like we're getting in the beginning of this episode, you know, is he human? Is he not? Is he something else? And then he's getting maybe more used to potentially the fact that he's killing people. So all of that is a journey and a progression.
Glad you brought that up because I think it was at the end of last season where he mentions a specific emotion and he's like, that's gone, you know, as
Yeah.
if he doesn't feel that emotion anymore. And so this being the third time, yes, that's what I was kind of blabbering on about at the beginning with him losing the personalities. And this, yes, being the third time because it was Huang's brother, it was the assassin, and now it's Kim. So
Yeah. And it's good that we're obviously it's super cool, the power, but there's maybe this potential downside.
yes, exactly. That is a great point. It's not
You
all
know?
just I'm the strongest. There's no
Yeah.
consequences to anything
I
that
mean,
I'm doing here.
the downside seems worth it for sure. Like the scales are totally tipped towards it being cool and he's just fucking badass. But it's nice that they're throwing us a little bit of like, okay, maybe it's not a totally a good thing.
Yes. And that kind of concludes, I mean, well, the episode ends, I guess, this quote unquote mini arc. I mean, the Red Gate is officially closed. We
Mhm.
really, our next direction, I guess, in terms of where the episodes can start heading is we didn't get a reference to Jeju Island this episode. We know we got one at the maybe it was at the end of last episode, but we did not, I don't think, get a single reference to Jeju Island. So that's one plot line. Huang obviously still does need to come back. He's not just going to let this all drop, or at least he will be in the vicinity of Japan still for the time being. He's not going back to America anytime soon, it seems like. So we have that storyline. And then obviously Sung's inner self with the personalities and everything. Those are 3 storylines that we have at least to look out for going forward.
Yeah. I mean, looking at I mean, my personal opinion is this doesn't stray into spoiler territory, but like that was what 4 or 5 chapters this episode. I thought honestly they would try to milk being in the Red Gate. I thought maybe they would span this episode into 2 episodes. So I'm encouraged that they didn't do that. And looking at the way, like, the arcs in this story slash show are so short at times that,
Mhm.
like, in the next 20 chapters, there's like 4 arcs.
Yeah, it
So
sounds
we'll
like
be moving. I mean,
yeah.
it seems like this season is gonna be like fairly fast paced, depending on how things go in the middle of it. But I could see us getting into some very, very juicy things
Based
very
on
quickly.
that, I'm gonna assume that, like, there's gonna be an arc and episode essentially, so until we get
It's
to the infamous Jeju Island raid.
with like 3 to 5 chapters an episode. Yeah, I mean, we could get, I mean, at most almost an arc in 2 episodes coming up. So like, we'll
I'm
see how it goes. I mean, it should be good, and honestly, it's kind of nice that we're moving quickly. We're changing like settings, scenery, characters, all of that stuff. Like, it should move. The pace of things should be very nice, I would say, for the next several episodes, and then potentially we're blowing off the top of this thing and getting to some really fun, juicy stuff
yeah,
in
we got
the middle to end of this season. And depending on if it's 12 episodes or 24, I don't know if we've ever confirmed that.
mhm. I think it'll
We'll see.
be yeah, we haven't confirmed it. I would guess that basically we will get episodes dropping until episode 24. So this was 14. We'll probably get
Okay.
until 24 if I had to guess. Nothing confirmed though, but a lot
Oh,
of
that's
great.
so true. I forgot about that, that the first season was 12
Yeah,
episodes.
they are counting it as season one, which it's
I forgot
weird
about that. Yeah, good
interpreting
point.
that as Crunchyroll, but a lot of great characters coming our way. As
Mhm.
we already said, there's a lot of great stories coming our way as well. But that's going to be it for today's episode coverage of Solo Leveling. If you like what you heard, give Bingetown TV a follow on all of our socials at Bingetown TV on X, Instagram, YouTube, all that good stuff. Be sure to join our Discord, which is linked in our episode description below, and chat with us about anything that you're watching with us or anything that you're currently watching and want us to know about. We are the Final Form Podcast, and thank you so much for listening.